This is the story of a man that lived trapped inside his own body for about a decade of his life. He could see and hear everything around him, but he could not talk or control his body movements. Doctors told his parents he could not understand the world around him. But that all changed when someone realized that he was in there. This is his story. To look at Martin Pistorius now, you would never know what he's been through. He was a healthy 12-year-old growing up in South Africa when one day he returned from school sick.
He never ever got better.
His body weakened and he lost control of his muscles and stopped communicating. Doctors believed it was a muscular degenerative disease and told his parents that he was unaware of the world around him, but that was wrong. For nearly a decade, he says he was awake, but nobody noticed.
For so many years I was like a ghost. It was like I wasn't there, I was invisible.
This is Martin today. He speaks by typing into a computer that voices his words.
You get to see and hear things that you probably never would. Things like what people really think and how they really are when nobody is watching.
Like one night when he heard his mum in a moment of despair.
I said to him one day, "I hope you die." And I had no idea that he understood that. And I'm very, very sorry I said it.
While I was very sad and upset by what she said, I understood where that was coming from. My mother often felt that she wasn't a good mom, and one of the hardest things for me was I couldn't tell her that, "No, you are doing great. She is a good mother."
Martin lived at home but regularly visited care centres, where he says at times he was subjected to abuse. Verbal, physical, and sexual.
There was never a care home that I was in where there wasn't some degree of abuse. Even if it didn't happen to me, I witnessed it happening to others.
But he says most of his caregivers were good people. After 9 long years of being trapped in his body, Martin's salvation came in a chance hiring of an employee at his daycare. Relief nurse and therapist Verna Van der Walt would give Martin his life back.
When you spoke to him, you could see his eyes are talking back to you. There was a sparkle in it. He was there.
Verna has the patience of a saint and the dedication of a true carer.
We were the same age also helped because she spoke to me, I guess you could say almost like one of her mates, and she almost expected a response back.
Verna Van der Walt saw something in Martin that would change his life in a remarkable way. Over 3 years, she learned to read what everyone else considered to be Martin's uncontrolled spasms, as his desperate attempts to communicate. Over time, they formed a language of barely perceptible eye movements and nods. Once she realized he could communicate, she fought for his chance to communicate to the world by having him tested.
You know, he didn't think that anybody was going to see him for who he was. So for him to actually trust me enough to even try to communicate, that's just amazing. I'm happy he did.
For the first time now, Martin had the chance to prove to the world he was there. But before he ran, it was an arduous journey.
I remember feeling happy, like wow, but also thinking to myself, what next? I would probably still be in some care home or dead. It scares me sometimes to think how easily things could have been so very different. She was the catalyst which changed the course of my life.
His mind a blank slate? He had to relearn everything. his mum helped him create a bank of words on various subjects before he taught himself to read and write again.
It was quite a process. I remember one time my mum and I were sitting and creating grids, and we were adding words like hug and kiss. My mum is a really down-to-earth, tell it like it is person, and so things quickly went from words about hugs and kisses to sex. I nearly died from embarrassment as my mum sprouted words like erection, ejaculation, and orgasm. Let's just say it was interesting. I was actually really grateful, embarrassed, but grateful that I had those words, because like any young man I was intrigued by sex.
Oh, he wanted swear words and everything. You just don't know what he wanted.
Martin graduated from the University of Pretoria with a degree in education, winning the Presidential Medal. He became a guest speaker in conferences around the world, and all without speaking a word. But what Martin wanted more than anything in the world was love.
I remember one day when my father and I were driving somewhere, looking out the car window and thinking, I have so much love inside of me and nobody to give it to.
And he found it in a friend of his sister living in the UK. It was a whirlwind romance conducted online for 6 months. And then finally they met for the first time.
My heart was pounding as I went through the arrival doors. Of course, when I saw her standing then, I couldn't get to her fast enough. I couldn't believe it. We were finally together. I was ecstatic.
I think ecstatic is a great word to use.
Finally, someone loved me, someone wanted me. Finally, I could give all the love I had inside of me to someone. In a way too, I found serenity and kind of peace.
But not even Jonah knew how romantic Martin could be. He decided to ask her to marry him above the African wilderness. Because Martin couldn't speak the words, he recorded his proposal on his phone.
I was so worried about dropping the ring out of the balloon that I made sure there was string tied to it so that if it fell it couldn't go anywhere.
Jonah and Martin got married and moved to the UK, where they still currently live. Martin's life is filled with joy, and ultimately he has one person to thank, which means a return trip to South Africa. Verna and Martin haven't seen each other in 8 years. She was the nurse that saw the person, the potential that no one else could see. She listened to the Martin that no one else could hear. It is the gentle and understated father, Rodney, that thanks Verna for everything that she has done and bringing his son back.
Do you realize how special you are? Because you're the one who identified his communication ability.
Yeah, sorry. Tissues. I'm glad that you are this wonderful person that you are. And I just wish you all best of luck.
Treat everyone with kindness, dignity, compassion and respect, whether or not you think they understand or not. To never underestimate the power of the mind, the importance of love and faith, and to never stop dreaming.
This is the recording of his proposal.
You are my soulmate, my best friend, my companion, my lover, my rock and strength. So will you do me the honor, the enormous privilege of sharing the rest of my life with me by becoming my wife?
I feel like saying yes again.